Robert McKee once said, "Write every day, line by line, page by page, hour by hour. Do this despite fear, for above all else, beyond imagination and skill, what the world asks of you is courage. Courage to risk rejection, ridicule, and failure. As you follow the quest for stories told with meaning and beauty, study thoughtfully but write boldly. Then, like the hero of the fable, your dance will dazzle the world." This is the Producers Lounge Podcast, the best podcast online for tips and tricks on producing great film, television, and web content. Welcome back for Season 3, Episode 3, hosted and produced by greaterandgrander.com. On this week's episode, we're chatting with Ryan Paul James, who has produced and written for television and stage plays, including The Comeback Kid, starring Scott Schwartz. We discuss AI, seeing the Disney machine from the inside, and transitioning successfully from actor to writer, as well as frank and honest discussions about depression in the entertainment industry. Here now is my conversation with Ryan Paul James.
When they asked me to do this, I was like, I know that name, Stanley Tucci. Richard Tucci. Richard Tucci. And I was like...
I get that all the time, though. Everybody asks me if I'm related to Stanley Tucci. Literally, I met my congressperson, and I said my name, and the first thing he said is, "Are you related to Stanley Tucci?"
Oh, wow. I can see why.
Yeah. Stanley Tucci's cool.
It's not a very common name, so...
Yeah.
It's really boring today. It's a really boring day around here. So,
boring?
I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Boring can be good. Boring's good. You got to rest sometimes, right?
That's very true.
Yeah. I had a friend at Paramount, and she was like, it's really weird. Things have been boring lately, and I've actually sat down and read a book for once. And
I don't read a book anymore.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, she said that, and the next week she got laid off. So I'm really not sure how to take that.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of Paramount, actually, my wife is on her way there right now. She's live announcing a what is it? Like a charity event, but it's they're doing it on the Paramount lot for the first time, and I was like, dang it! I wish I could have gone because I love that. I love that back lot. It's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, and also you got like artifacts out in the open. Like you got the Forrest Gump bench right there.
Yeah, I know. And then
oh, it's amazing.
Actor, I used to love going there and auditioning because you could just walk around the whole lot, and nobody would bother you. It was great.
Nice. So where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Tampa, Florida.
And
always had the dream of being an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I probably got the dream when I was like 7 years old, and I'm going to tell you funny. I don't know if you remember this. I'm really dating myself right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a show on back in the 80s, hosted by Dick Clark and Ed McMahon, called TV's Bloopers and Practical Jokes.
I do remember that. Oh my God.
And I remember watching it, and they would have like stars playing jokes or doing practical jokes on other stars, and I was like, one day I want to do that. I want to do a practical joke, and from there it just evolved, and then I wanted to be in front of the camera, and I wanted to be on either TV or film, and I got in high school. I was in my just being in productions and stuff in high school, and then I got really lucky. Because I graduated high school, and I knew I wanted to go, instead of going right into college, I wanted to go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And so I went and I auditioned, and it was like at a hotel in Orlando.
That's always a bad sign.
Well, no, it was actually good. It was this was legit. And I did a monologue from a high school play I did. And the casting director was a legit casting director. And she said, "Ryan, I really like, your personality. And you got a really good sense of humor. Do you mind going out in the hallway and hanging out for a minute?" I was like, okay. And my parents drove me to the audition. And I remember going out there and I'm like, she wants me to wait out here. I don't know. I mean, did I do something wrong? I had no idea. No
Mhm.
idea. And next thing I know, she calls me back in. She says, "Hey, tomorrow night at 7:30, I would like you to go." At the time, it was Disney MGM Studios.
Mm.
Like you to go, and she described this. I was gonna go to a trailer, and I was gonna do the same monologue that I had just done for her for a guy, and I can't even remember his name right now. That's probably
Mhm.
bad. So the next day, I go to. First of all, I love Disney MGM Studios. Still,
Oh yeah.
a great place to
Mhm.
go. But I go and I do this audition, and it turns out it was kind of like an audition for the Mickey Mouse Club,
Mhm.
and but it wasn't like I was gonna be like one of the main cast. They had some of the cast members were leaving to do this thing called the party. It was
Mhm.
like this band that went on tour, and they just needed some kids to come in and kind of fill in because the show was already canceled.
Mhm.
This was the last season for it. So I got to do 6 months of the Mickey Mouse Club, and
Mhm.
and it was from originally from me going and auditioning for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then of course after I was done with that, I came out here, and at the time the campus was in Pasadena,
Mhm.
and I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for a summer. Got really homesick. It was my first time away from mommy and daddy, and
Mhm.
I can't do this, and so I went home early. I regret
Nice.
it, but I soon after that I was just getting bit parts. Florida was a great place to start as an actor.
Yeah, because if I remember, like Disney had opened up MGM, and the big push was they wanted it to be an operating studio. They got a bunch of tax credits. Universal was always trying something similar. I imagine like at least at that time in the mid '90s, there was a lot of stuff, particularly for young actors.
Oh,
Or
it was crazy. I mean,
yeah.
I got a recurring. I only did 3 episodes of Keenan and Kel.
Hmm.
Jimmy, the orange soda guy that would bring the orange soda to the parties,
Hmm.
and but then I would get like they would bring in some pretty big movies. I mean, I remember working 2 weeks on a movie called Forever Mine, and it was Paul Schrader who wrote and directed this, and it was Ray Liotta, Joseph Fiennes, who had just finished doing Shakespeare in Love, and Gretchen Mol, and they filmed that in Tampa for like 2 weeks, and I got to do a five and under, but I was also the stand-in for Joseph Fiennes. So I mean, it was such a Florida was such a great place to learn about both the film and
Hmm.
television industry. And I was able to, get my SAG card and get some good tape on myself. And then I came out here to LA, and that was the beginning of the end for my acting career. So, uh,
What are any of the lessons, or were there any lessons that you learned during that period from being on set that you later carried forward throughout the rest of your career?
oh wow, that's a great question. Well, first of all, the etiquette. I mean, you better know if you want to be in this business,
Hmm.
you better know the ins and outs of a set.
Hmm.
And so I really learned that. Um, and another thing that still to this day I'm very, very grateful for. Paul Schrader, I learned pretty quickly, loves talking film lo- and loves teaching film.
Hmm.
And I remember one day he actually let me follow him around a little bit, and he was
Oh,
showing me
wow.
camera angles, and while he was using this camera angle, and it was just I mean, it was like I got film school from one of the best teachers I could possibly, learn from.
Hmm.
And uh so that's really what I took back then is I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to learn how to direct,
Hmm.
why you use the lighting that you're using. I
Hmm.
play in I didn't really learn very much of that because I have awful lighting in here, um but it was more than just wanting to be an actor. I just wanted to be in the industry. And
What
so
were
I
some,
wanted to learn so much about the industry. So that's really what I took from it.
if I can ask, what was something specific that Paul Schrader said to you?
Um I don't know if it was one thing that he said.
Hmm.
I just remember him really loving
Hmm.
teaching
Hmm.
and really like we were doing a scene. I don't even think this scene made it into the movie because it was a guy on a toilet. That was the scene. But he had a way. I mean, because directors, especially like Paul Schrader, who's been in the industry for so long, they
Hmm.
had their style. And I mean, he came into the film industry at the same time Spielberg, and I mean,
Hmm.
and Martin Scorsese's friendship, is legendary in the business. And so I mean, he knew all these guys, and they all learned from each other, and so it was really it's one day that I've never forgotten, and I will never forget. It was an amazing opportunity. But what was the question? I'm sorry. It was oh yeah. What was one thing that he taught me that day?
Hmm.
I I don't know what. I don't think I really like. I don't remember the one thing. I just remember getting so much confidence from that because he actually invested time in me and showing me how to. And if there's anything I took from that is later on always pass along what you've learned to the next
Hmm.
generation coming up. Does that make sense?
Paying it forward. Yeah.
Paying it forward, exactly, exactly. And that's something definitely my wife and I we both try to do more and more. I teach writing now because I'm a writer now, not an actor, and my wife is
Hmm.
a voiceover actress and has done a ton of stuff.
Hmm.
And we love passing on what we've learned onto the future generation. And the thing that is kind of scary right now, and that's why we're on strike, um,
Hmm.
is AI. And I don't know if you want to get into that, but
By the time I'm totally fine with getting into it, I think there's certainly a right way and a wrong way to use AI. I want to be 100% clear. I stand behind the WGA. I think writers should be writing and not robots should be writing.
yeah,
And I think, it's not just the writers who are at risk, like producers and production managers. There's absolutely companies out there developing AI for project management and film production. There's one company out there that's actually developing AI for script continuity. I know because I interviewed to be on the board for that company. Yeah, and also actors too. Like, why is a studio going to invest in new talent if they can just license Tom Cruise's image and animate him acting long after he's dead? You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Tom Hanks even came out recently and said that he's doing that. And you can't blame him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't blame him for wanting to continue to be in film long after they're gone. Um, but I will say, I just what I've been doing a lot lately is authors who write books
Hmm.
wanting to turn their books into screenplays, and so
Mm.
they've been hiring me a lot this last year and a half, and I've written 3 different screenplays for 3
Hmm.
different authors, and the last one I worked for, she couldn't afford me to do the rewrites.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he got AI to start
Hmm.
doing rewrites, and she was showing me what AI was doing, and I had no idea how
Hmm.
advanced AI is at doing this. And it was pretty scary for me to see firsthand what AI is doing to the script that I spent so long on, and in 5 minutes it's able to spit out a scene that
Yeah.
I have to admit was pretty good, and that was pretty scary to me. But the one thing that I'm personally concerned with, and I've been thinking about this a lot actually today,
Hmm.
I was talking about it with somebody, um, is yeah, we as writers we're fighting the studios to
Hmm.
not use AI to write scripts, but what's stopping some of these writers, you know, from using AI to write their scripts?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, I love writing. I love telling stories,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to use something. I mean, I don't. I'm not a cheater, and I don't want to cheat. And
Yeah.
use
And
AI script.
I agree with you 100% on that. As far as my stance on AI, like uh, you know, I have not found an AI or chat GPT that actually writes good screenplays. It barely writes decent prose for treatments or synopses or what have you.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly because, screenwriting and writing for film and TV is so niche, and the really good stuff is kept behind walls unless they go out for Emmy or Academy Award campaigns. So there's really a lack of material to train it on. But let's talk about your writing. Your first writing credits were in 2008 on a couple shows called Extreme Video Zone and Rewind. How did those come about?
Well, one thing I left out when I was acting, I was also a radio personality, and I
Mm-hmm.
started in Tampa, and then got actually transferred out here to LA and was radio DJ out here for 7 years. And as a result of that, I was kind of like a VJ
Mm-hmm.
on a show called Rewind, where we went back into the 80s and 90s and would play old music videos and talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And about after doing 10 years of that, I just didn't want to be in front of the camera anymore. I don't know, something just switched up here, and I was just done, but I wanted to be behind the camera, and so I asked if I could start writing for some of their shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were the shows I wrote for. I think I did for about 4 years, and then everything got canceled. Hopefully it wasn't because of the writing. But it's,
Can I ask what the switch from writing from acting was? Was it burnout? Were you feeling like too long?
yeah. Um, I don't. I'll go ahead and share this story
Like,
because I think a lot of actors can relate to this, and that is I was tired of the rejection, and the thing that really hit me hard um, was I was up for it wasn't it was a supporting role, but it would have been a huge role for me personally because it could
mm-hmm.
have definitely propelled me. It was that movie with Adam Sandler and Kevin James. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Mm-hmm.
And I auditioned for the street preacher. I think that was the name of the character. And
Mm-hmm.
and that character literally gets in a fight with Adam Sandler, and it was anyway. I was told that I had gotten the role,
Mm-hmm.
and thank God I wasn't on Facebook and I didn't put something out there on social media saying, "Hey, I'm going to be in this movie."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but about 3 weeks went by, and I get a call from the casting director. And if you're getting a call from the casting director and not your agent, that can be either really, really good or it could be really, really bad. And unfortunately, this was really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam's notorious for casting his friends in his films.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the role that I had auditioned for, um, Adam had already had one of his friends in mind for it.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably should have never even have had that role out there to be auditioned for.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get it, and it just sent me. I deal with depression, in in my life, and it sent me into one of the worst depressions I had ever gone through. To the point where my mom was so worried about me, she actually flew from Florida out here to be with me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really dark time, and but at the same time, I was just like, what am I doing to myself, and why do I want to continue to keep going through this cycle
Mm-hmm.
of rejection, rejection, rejection? So, um, I was a member of a theater company here called Theater
Mm-hmm.
68, and Ronnie Marma, who runs that theater, is also one of my good friends. And he and his wife said, "Hey, you're really funny. Why don't you write a play?" And I was like, "I don't want to write a play." Well, sure enough, like 2 weeks later, I'm watching Turner Classic Movies really late at night, and this idea hits me. And I wrote this play called Lost in Radioland, and it's kind of like a Noises Off. It's like a behind the scenes of one of the old Hollywood radio plays.
Oh yeah.
It's at 1940s Hollywood.
Mhm.
And so I literally wrote this play, I think in a week and a half, and I gave it to Ronnie, and he said, "Let's put it up." And I was like, "Wow, okay." Well, I also happened to cast a very amazing actress in it named Melissa Disney, who is now my wife. So I changed my career and I meet my wife all with one play. And I'll never forget opening night, literally on the verge of having a panic attack because I'm so nervous. And I mean, a ton of people are there for opening night. And I'm like, what is going on here? And they laugh. They laughed at something I wrote.
Mhm.
And it was, Richard, I'm telling you, something switched right then and there. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what, because there was so much satisfaction in getting a response right there from an audience from something you put down on paper
Mhm.
that you thought was funny, but you didn't know if anybody else was going to think it was funny, you know? and that changed everything for me. And so I started off, I ended up writing, in 10 years, I wrote 10 plays. I was writing one play.
Whoa.
Yeah, I literally, I got a deal with theater, the Palisades Theater,
Mhm.
and they would put up one of my plays every summer. And so I was getting all my plays produced, but by them, by Theater 68. And then without even me knowing it, there were because I had put out a couple of my scripts onto this website. And
Mhm.
there was a theater in Melbourne, Australia, another theater in Liverpool that they took my play Desperately Seeking Love and they put that play up. So I was just like, this is what I'm meant to do. I love telling stories and writing. And my wife was like, plays are great, but we have kids now and they don't bring in a whole lot of money. uh, so I made the transition over to television and was writing for Rewind and Extreme Video Zone, and that was like the first show I wrote for. And it was really it was just writing for a host. It wasn't writing for actors or anything like that. But
Uh-huh.
it was a great learning ground for me.
I mean, that's an amazing story. That's an amazing transition. I think, I have a lot of actor friends who, for one reason, they are in the exact same boat as you, and they are looking to make a transition. They're not sure what to do, and going from actor to anything else in the entertainment industry is very difficult because of, unfortunately, there's a stigma around some people who are actors and want to transition to something else. But that's amazing that you were able to do that. That's great. So from Extreme Video Zone and Rewind, you moved on to wind up producing and writing your own stuff, including The Comeback Kids. How did that come about?
It was, we were doing a play called the play I was just telling you about, Desperately Seeking Love. And Richard Horvitz was one of my actors. Richard started off as a kid. He was also in that movie Summer School. And he and I, actually, we were in this room. We were rehearsing this scene. And I just kind of told him this idea that I had for a child actor who was popular back in the 70s and 80s, and now he's in his 40s and trying to make a comeback. And he said, "Oh, that it's a great idea." Actually, ran the idea by a couple of other people who I really respect in the industry, and they said, "That's it. That is the script you got to focus on." And so I did. So I wrote this script for Richard and his buddy Dean Cameron, who was also in Summer School with him. And what the idea was was to bring a lot of the television stars from the past and have them have either recurring roles or guest appearances on every episode.
Mhm.
So in the pilot, we have, of course, Richard and Dean, and then we have Keith Coogan, who
Mhm.
did almost every 80s movie with kids
Mhm.
back in the day. Scott Schwartz, who was the kid with the tongue stuck on the pole in A Christmas Story.
Mhm.
Bernie Capel, who was the doctor on Love Boat. And then my dear friend, who unfortunately has passed away, Gavin McLeod, who was Captain Steubing on the Love Boat. And this was the first time that they had actually been on a show together since the Love Boat. Aaron Murphy, little Tabitha from the original Bewitched. And that was the first episode. So, and then of course my wife, she's a fantastic actress, so I had to put her in, and she played the fan, the crazy fan,
Mhm.
who was actually psychopath fan, who leads their fan group and all
Oh,
that.
the one from the scene where she's like, take a selfie," and the guy goes, this isn't creepy. What?" Like that.
I know, I love that. That was so good. So, yeah, so we filmed the pilot, and I was originally just going to do it as a web series,
Mhm.
not really thinking budget. And I had literally written the whole first season, every script, all 10 episodes.
Mhm.
And I had amazing people lined up for future episodes, like Eileen Quinn, Annie from the original Annie movie, and I really wish we could have gotten to that episode. But it was just so amazing to get to know all these TV stars that I grew up watching. Mr. T, for example. I mean, it was just like all these amazing people that I grew up watching on TV, all wanting to be a part of this show. So we did this big red carpet event in Westwood, and we rented a theater there, and we actually did a screening of it. A lot of celebrities came out and did the red carpet and all that stuff. It was great. And one of the producers that showed up was Shapiro, who helped, who represented Jerry Seinfeld and
Wow.
the whole original Seinfeld show. And he loved it. He loved the pilot. He said you shouldn't do this as a web series. You need to do this as a TV show. So then from that night forward, my focus was on trying to make it into a TV show. And a good buddy of mine got me connected with NBC. We went and we pitched it to NBC. NBC loved it. They held on to it for a few weeks, and they ultimately passed because Eva Longoria came to them with another show that was kind of similar in their minds to what we were doing. So they wanted that relationship with Eva Longoria. But I would go to like, I remember Hulu came back and told us that it doesn't really relate to middle America. And that really kind of pissed me off. And I was just like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. So what I ended up doing is I took the pilot and I started submitting it to all these film festivals in middle America. And then I didn't just stop there. I started submitting it to film festivals literally all over the world. And my wife and I got to do a lot of traveling in a year and just went to
Nice.
and we ended up winning 25 film festivals.
Holy shit.
Out of 30. And the other 5, we were still right up there, you know. I mean, there were some pretty amazing other TV shows that we were up against at all these film festivals. So that was kind of like, ha, 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 you're wrong. It does relate to middle America.
So Eva Longoria, if you're listening, contact Ryan James at 310. No.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. I just kind of gave up on it after a while because we pitched it a few other times, and I just realized, you know what, I think because this was really before all the networks were doing these, bringing back their old shows, like that we brought back van and all that stuff. And there's a part of me that's wondering, because I was pitching this and I was saying we're bringing back all these TV stars, that maybe I sparked an idea with one of these people at one of these networks that said, "Hey, well, why don't we just bring that person back and redo their show?" Well, I don't know. I'm totally kidding here, but
Yeah.
I
Well, let me ask, since this what you had a lot of success with it, it was your first executive producer credit. I'm going to ask what, might be a difficult question, but what was the biggest lesson you learned on that project carrying forward in your career? The biggest lesson or thing that, didn't go as well as you hoped it would?
the original script that I had written when we did the table read for it,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't funny.
Oh.
And really, I think it was Richard and Dean, they kind of pulled me off to the side and they said, comedy, in fact, I have it written on my desk is a mess. I'm sorry.
No worries.
True comedy comes from truth. And I was just trying to do a lot of, over the top kind of comedy that really didn't play well. So now, moving forward, everything that I write, because I mainly write comedy, comes from a truthful place. And I have found that doing that, the scripts are so much better. The storytelling is so much better. And you get a lot more laughs than trying to make somebody laugh. Instead, you're just, you're relating to that person in a way that they find it that's funny, and you're not trying to make them laugh. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think it was Robert McKee, who said the best comedy and drama comes from true conflict. Yeah. So after the 25 out of 30 festivals, that's a really great accomplishment. Congratulations to you both on that. What came next after that for you?
Oh, wow. Just trying to get hired on a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Writing the many spec scripts for the different
Mm-hmm.
showrunners and producers. But one thing I got to do also is I joined a writers group in Hollywood that had a lot of very successful writers in it, and ended up, after a few years, actually getting to lead a writers group.
Oh, wow.
And it was I loved every opportunity with
Mm-hmm.
that, because it was kind of like you were in a writer's room, working with other writers, helping them with their scripts, them helping you with your scripts.
Mm-hmm.
But that was that was something that I really enjoyed. But I was also writing a bunch of other TV scripts as far as pilots and stuff go, where one is actually being considered right now, probably on hold right now because of the strike. But I'm excited about that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written a couple of comedy rom-coms that are kind of like a Hallmark Channel kind of movie. So I'm in the middle of pitching those. It's been quite the experience.
It's funny, you're the second guest I've had on who has gone and pitched and written for Hallmark.
Oh
Yeah. They apparently are very active. They want to get something for every holiday, and
you got to respect them. Their budgets are so low. So when you're writing the script, you have to keep that in mind. You can't put a scene of, a car chase or something in it. Might be a little bit too much for the budget there, but yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, I'll tell any story I can. In fact, I've always been, even when I was a kid, a huge fan of Alfred Hitchcock films. and I always wanted to try my hand at one of those kind of suspense thriller kind of
Mm-hmm.
script. So I got to do that a couple of years ago. And, one thing that I was told, and I don't know if it's true
Mm-hmm.
uh, these days because the industry has changed so much, but it's like they kind of like said, pick your lane and stay in your lane when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
your genre you want to write for.
Yeah.
I never liked that because I'm always wanting to tell the story. And maybe I'm not into writing a comedy right now. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I want to write a Hitchcock type film or an action sci-fi film, which I wrote recently. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's um, I just like dipping into other genres and stuff, and you can always add comedy into these things. I mean, you have to, you know. Um, so that's really kind of what I've been up to. I wrote a lot of plays also after the Comeback Kids. It was when we did the Comeback Kids, it was kind of in the middle of when I was writing all these plays.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a play open in New York little about a year and a half ago, which was really amazing for me because I had always wanted to have a script uh, or a play of mine open there, and
Mm-hmm.
it lasted 3 weeks, and then COVID came back and everything.
Oof.
And so, anyway, that's the way uh, it all happened back then. But I keep on keeping on. I've written a couple of other comedy sitcoms for some other producers, and
Can I ask about the Broadway experience though? Because getting something mounted, whether it's Broadway or off Broadway, that's still quite an accomplishment. How did you like find your partners? How did you weed out the wheat from the chaff? Like,
well, actually, I was hired to write this play. Uh,
oh, okay.
yeah, so they had already had got the theater.
Mm-hmm.
The producer already had made the arrangements and all that stuff, and then she turned to me to actually write the play for her because it was actually based on her. It was based on a true story about her and her kids.
Oh.
Pretty fascinating. It was a Christmas play. Um, uh, but like I said, it was unfortunate. You put all that work in, like months writing the script, and then their casting, and the amount of work it goes into opening a show,
Mm-hmm.
especially New York, and then 3 weeks later to have it just go get by. It was a downer.
Best laid plans of mice and men, but you can't control COVID. That's yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. Can I ask, you've mentioned, you've been hired to write the play, you've been hired to adapt several novels into screenplays. Can I ask kind of how, for tips and tricks for people listening, how did those opportunities come about? If you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah. It's you just have to you have to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like I have a secret of how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just basically, you know, put the work in, and
Mm-hmm.
and but when you do your work, make sure before you put it out there, it's you're really really happy with it, and it's something that other people will be happy with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because once you have a good reputation in this town,
Mm-hmm.
this, I'm sure. Hollywood, it's a huge industry, but when you're in it, it's really small. And one bad review, one bad play, one that it can get around. And oh, here's one thing I definitely wanted some
Mm-hmm.
advice, especially if you're a writer or an actor or even a
Mm-hmm.
director. Um, what I did when I made the transition from actor to writer, I sought out the writers that I admire. Um, for example, Ken Levine, who he's amazing. amazing comedy writer. Wrote for MASH, Cheers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Emmy winner. I uh, I would like hit him up like on Facebook, or I got his email and I would say, "Hey, I'd love to have coffee with you. I'd love to have lunch with you." And never heard back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then a friend of a friend set it up so that he and I would have coffee. And so I got to actually sit down with Ken Levine and just pick his brain about, MASH, Cheers, and these amazing scripts that he wrote. I mean, he wrote some of, well, first of all, I love Cheers. I love that show. And he would write the episodes for the Bar Wars, which every season they had one episode where it was the Bar Wars, where it was Cheers versus that other bar that I can't remember. And I just loved those episodes, and he wrote those.
Uh-huh.
And so fast forward like a year later,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a one act, and he had a couple of one acts, and we both got picked to have our one acts put up at this theater.
Mm.
And so it was like, we got to see each other again, and this time it was a little bit better. We actually went to lunch, and we've got this friendship now where I know that if I need some advice, I'm sure I could give him a call, and he'd give me some advice. I hope it's not, if I hope that's the case. Another movie I grew up loving, again, I'm dating myself, from the 80s, is the movie Clue.
Oh yeah.
I loved Clue.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a minute, because my mind just went blank. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Tim Curry and Madeline Kahn. It's okay, I'll vamp with Tim Curry and Madeline Kahn and Christopher Lloyd and Colleen Campbell, who played the maid. And I actually met her and worked with her on stuff when I was working under Penny Marshall. She is a hoot. She is so funny. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Oh, Jonathan Lynn. He
Mhm.
wrote and directed Clue. And I just wrote him via Facebook, and I said, "Hey, you wrote and you directed one of the best movies for me as a comedy writer."
Mhm.
And he also did My Cousin Vinny
Mhm. Mhm.
and a couple of other great movies. And he he was getting ready to leave LA and moved back to New York because he wanted to be closer to his grandkids. But
Mhm.
his last hurrah before doing that, he had a play called something Mr. Prime Minister. I forget the title right now. But anyway, he invited me and my wife to the last showing of it before they opened it.
Mhm.
Preview. It was the last preview. And we actually got to sit with him and his wife. And then the next morning, he and I went and had coffee, and I got to ask him so many questions about Clue and what was it like and how much of it was ad-libbed. And believe it or not, they all stuck to the script. I mean, you wouldn't you would think
Oh
a lot of
my
it was
God.
ad-libbed, but he made sure that they stuck to his script. God bless him. But he's actually one of the ones, when I was toying around with the idea of the Comeback Kids, and I told him about it, and he said, "You got to do this. It's a great idea. Go for it." So Jonathan Lynn, yeah, I've actually, I haven't, probably since COVID, I haven't really kept in touch with him. I was trying to set it up when I was heading up my writers group, of having him, because everybody was on Zoom at that time,
Mhm.
having him zoom in. But it was just too late because him still being in New York and us meeting at a later hour here in LA, it just never worked out. But yeah, I mean, these were a couple of the writers that I met with. I'm leaving out a few, and I'm sorry if you're listening. But I just that was one thing I definitely recommend, even if you're first starting out, check
Mhm.
out some writers or some TV shows that you love. Find out who wrote it, and then just see if they're available. I mean, you have to live in LA or New York probably, but find out if they're available. Just to sit down and have a conversation with you, and you'll be really surprised how many really like to talk, shop with you.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta say, like for a $15 a month IMDb Pro subscription, which I am not going to hawk for IMDb Pro. Jeff Bezos has enough money as it is. But for that, you can get a lot of actors and writers and directors have their personal information on that site, and let alone production company info and stuff like that. There's two things that I really love about your story. Number one, you talk about how important it is to be part of a community of creatives. You know, being in a writer's room, getting mentors, getting, et cetera. Like that is so important to the creative process that often gets overlooked, especially for TV writers. Um, and the second thing I love is like this generic networking tip that I hear time and time again, which is get your mutual friends to help set up the coffee meetings. That works so well.
You know, going back to your first point there, I feel like, especially since COVID and we were all kind of restrained into our homes and not going out, it's kind of like not many people are going out and visiting anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of these writers groups now are still on Zoom, but
yeah.
having that face to face and actually hearing the response to your scripts, or you as a writer, having other people read your stuff, it's it's so important, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Another thing that we did in these writers groups, Stephen Wishnoff, who's a brilliant writer, he was the head guy of these writers groups, and they're still going. Unfortunately, I had to back out of my group, but
Hmm.
he would bring in really amazing actors too. So you as the writer, you're not hearing just another writer read your script. You're hearing an amazing actor who's actually got some credits
Hmm.
on IMDb reading your script, and it's it's really really amazing. In fact, Stephen, if you're listening and watching, I kind of want to get back into your group. So I don't know if
Nice.
they're pretty busy with. They're really popular, so a lot of people are involved in them.
Awesome. So then what is next on the horizon for you?
Well, whenever the strike ends,
Hmm.
I'm actually working on a show right now with Scott Schwartz
Hmm.
from A Christmas Story, because they did A Christmas Story Part 2 this last Christmas, so his popularity is now back up there.
Hmm.
And Todd Bridges, Willis, what you talking about, Willis from the two of them are teaming up, and they asked me to write this script called Strangely Connected. I'm not going to
Hmm.
get into too much detail about it, but we're looking at possibly, again, whenever the strike ends, going to Scranton, because they just opened up studios there.
Oh, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I'm gonna both direct and write the whole first season of Strangely Connected, and we got
Nice.
a lot of really cool guest stars that I'm writing for that I'm really looking forward to. So we'll see what happens, but right now it's looking good.
If you could go back and give yourself any advice back when you were living in Tampa, back before this whole adventure started, what would it be?
Oh wow, there's a lot actually,
Hmm.
but I think the main one would be to prepare yourself for the rejection,
Hmm.
but look at it as a learning experience, and that no is only one no, one more no until you're yes. um I think what happened is I had seen such great success right out of the gate when I first started, so I think it was hard for me to then come out here and just get so much rejection.
Hmm.
um so I I would say look at the rejections as a blessing.
And that is Season 3, Episode 3 of the Producer's Lounge podcast. Thank you to my guest, Ryan Paul James, for joining us. You can find out more about him by checking out the show notes and subscribing to our YouTube channel, @GreaterGrander. Our intro and outro music today was Acoustic Blues by Audionautics. We'd love to hear from you, and you can check out this week's accompanying article on greaterandgrander.com entitled 12 Essential Mental Health Tips for Writers. Stay inspired and resilient. Link in the show notes. You can stay up to date by following us on YouTube and social media at the handle GreaterGrander, all one word. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever fine podcasts are found. And also, if you like what we do, share this podcast with a friend who you think will enjoy it. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.